Hi, everybody, welcome to the press. Welcome to our show talking about the Valero Texas Open, this week's PGA Tour event down in San Antonio. Last chance saloon to get into the Masters for 2026. We've got 92 or 93 players in the field, depending on who you're asking and which DUI they might have been in recently. So we've got to figure that out, whether we get one more into the field or we just kind of stop at this number. So let's get into everything to the Valero Texas Open. Playing on the Oaks course at TPC San Antonio. At one time, this was known, I believe, as the AT&T Oaks course, which was a really weird effort at a corporate sponsorship for a golf course. But it's at TPC San Antonio, the Oaks course. It's a Greg Norman jam down in San Antonio. It's 74-38 off of the scorecard backs. It's 72 on the par. We've got a $9.8 million purse, so a little over $1.75 million to the winner, 500 FedEx Cup points to the champion, probably in that 47 to 49 range in terms of first place points to the winner of the official World Golf Ranking. 132 player field. Brooks is not in this, so they don't have to adjust for that. And they had two open qualifying spots, and then they kind of filled in with some folks who WD'd. And some of those guys who WD'd were players who played their way into the Masters, like Gary Woodland by winning in Houston, or like Nikolai Højgaard, who got into the top 50 in the world. He's not playing anymore. He's in the Masters. He doesn't need to worry about it. Let's take a look at the betting odds for this week. Front page, your top line guys are Tommy Fleetwood at 16 to 1. I've seen him at 14.5 to 1. Ludwig Oberg is also 16 to 1. You got Russell Henley at 18 to 1. I have to admit, Russell Henley is a blind spot for me. I don't pay enough attention to him. He's been playing well, though. If you look at his numbers, really last 3 or 4 events, they're pretty good. And he's been generally pretty consistent this year. So this is a ball strikers golf course, and we're going to get into that. And you'll see that from past winners and people who have done well here. It's not necessarily about power. They're big, kind of funky putting surfaces. The golf course doesn't play particularly long because there's a lot of downhill. There are some uphills, but it doesn't play especially long. You got that Texas wind that usually can help out a player quite a bit too. So just think about ball strikers here this week, which is probably why I'm drawn to Collin Morikawa at 20 to 1. Jordan Spieth's already been bet up. I saw him earlier in the week at a better number, and that is long gone. He's playing well. He's been in the top 15 twice in his last 3 starts. He's been playing okay this year. He is the horse for course here, other than Matt Kuchar. I mean, there's a reason the public's going to be on him this week. I have him for one and done, which is probably going to be a colossal mistake, but there's a reason he's 20 to 1. Can you say he's better than Collin Morikawa or Bobby Mack or Siwoo Kim? Siwoo Kim fits the bill as a ball striker. No, that's the power of the public, right? To move lines. But I don't think I think Spieth is a bad value. If you got him at like a 25 or 28, you did a good job. Otherwise, I just don't think he's the proper bet at this number. At that point, you might as well bet him live, see if you can get him at like 14, 15 to 1 with some data to tell you he's playing well. Deki Matsuyama is a good fit here, 25 to 1. Matt McNeely is also 25 with Sepp Straka, who's been playing pretty well of late. Keith Mitchell is 30 to 1. I've seen him at 35. Shop around for that number. This is from the Westgate, but you can do better. But I do like Keith Mitchell a lot this week. Ricky Fowler fits the profile of this course to a good degree. Michael Thorbjornsen all of a sudden finds himself at the 30 to 1 because he continues to contend. He played pretty well in Houston. I think this is a little bit of a different challenge than Houston, but still generally the same idea. You can get into more trouble off the tee here, I think, than you can for the most part in Houston. But you got Alex Noren at 35 to 1, good horse for course player here this week. Hasn't had the best year so far, but does fit the bill. Johnny Kiefer is suddenly 35 to 1, and people are probably have been waiting for him as we've been talking about him all year. This guy's going to be good. He's going to figure it out. Well, he said last week, hey, I figured out my putting, and maybe that's a good thing. He likes playing in Texas. That's another good thing. He's been bet up, and I can't bet him at that number. Guy going for his first PGA Tour win, but in concept, I do like him. JJ Spawn and Daniel Berger and Ryuhei Setsune are 40 to 1. Denny McCarthy's been playing better golf. He made a furious run here the year Akshay Bhatia won to get into a playoff. I mean, one of the greatest back nines I've ever seen. Wound up coming up short because they chunked one in the playoff hole. But he's been playing better lately. He understands, I think, the urgency of the situation. He needs to start playing some better golf or he's going to find himself in a real hard way for the back half of this season. Sudarshan Yalamaraju, who's 50 to 1. He actually rates out really well in our model, which you'll see in a minute. Torbjorn Olsen, I think, is a steal here this week, 55 to 1. Not necessarily playing killer golf, but he is a good horse for course play, and he will fly under the radar. Marco Penge at 60 to 1. I'm going to keep firing on this guy. He's going to win on this tour. He is too good of a player to fail. And he showed out pretty well again in Houston. I think he will play pretty well here. I'm going to skip some guys. Brian Harmy's your defending champion, but I'm going to skip over him. Ricky Castillo, 70 to 1. Andrew Novak has played well here in the past. Probably should have won last year, but the tough final day really got him. I do like his chances here at 70 to 1. I like Alex Smalley's chances at 70 to 1. I liked him more last week. I would like Novak better here. We're going to take a look at the top 10 for this week. Do this model every week. We've been doing it for a little over 5 years now. Actually, 6 years. Excuse me. March 2020, not March 2021. And it's had some really good results. We look at 1 and 2 year windows. We look at the last 10 events played, last 3 years of this event. Put it all together, and here's what we get. Russell Henley, number 1. Tommy Fleetwood, number 2. Very, very close. Russell Henley does very well in this model because he is a model of consistency. He is just a guy who gains a lot of strokes, and he does it a lot. And so it works out for this model. Colin Morikawa is 3rd, Alex Noren 4th, Jordan Spieth 5th. There you go. Ludwig Åberg 6th. I know a lot of people love Ludwig this week. He's just too erratic for me. He does have a good finish here. I will acknowledge that, but it just doesn't line up for me at that price. Serdar Mirage, who doesn't have enough events to really make it worthy of him being 7th. By the way, Keith Mitchell's 11th in the model, so if you want someone with more experience, there you go. Hideki 8th, Bobby Mack 9th, and Mav McNeely 10th. So you get back into the betting odds a little bit more. Just I don't want to go through this too much because there are 132 players in this field. We don't need to go through all of them. But some guys I do want to point out. Austin Smotherman will show up later in this based on his approach play. Strokes gained on the approach. He struggles with the putting. This could be a decent week for him. This is a ball striker's golf course. Let's throw in Steven Yeager. Had a nice week at Houston last week. I think that's a horse for course thing. I don't think that's a sign of things to come. Matt McCarty at 90 to 1, I think is kind of interesting. He did play his way into the Masters and is still playing this week. Adrian Dumonte Chassard is slower than hell, but he's been playing well the last 2 weeks, and I don't think he seems to care that anyone else thinks he's slow. He's been playing all right, and I think he can handle wind. 90 to 1, I think, is an interesting number. Chris Kirk is a horse for course play here this week. Certainly not a foreign play, but he's 100 to 1. Eric Cole I kind of like this week at 100 to 1. I like S.H. Kim, actually, quite a bit. He's been playing okay. He's been making cuts. He likes this golf course. He is a sneaky pick for me this week. Good buddy of mine likes Marty Dow a lot. I can just never bet the guy. I'd rather bet Michael Kim at 125 to 1 based on who's on this graphic. Going through a little bit more deeper in the odds, Lee Hodges interests me a little bit, but I'd rather take Sammy Valimaki at 150 to 1. Matt Kuchar's done pretty well with limited availability this year, right? He's not going after all of the exemptions the one-time exemptions that he has by virtue of his PGA Tour career. I just, it's kind of hard to be like, hey, yeah, here's a 45-year-old guy that I'm going to bet 150 to 1 just because he's a horse for course. But he hasn't been bad this year. Other than that, Joel Damon keeps getting into fields. He might turn something out of nothing. He does seem to play well in the wind sometimes. AJ Ewart, again, I think he's a good player. I think he can handle things. 175 to 1 is probably not what I want to be doing the week before the Masters with bankroll for him to win, but I am okay with him on a top 20 here this week. Carl Phillips might be coming out of a slump, but he's so streaky, it's impossible to bet. Chandler Blanchett is, I think, worth a look here. He's been playing better the last couple of weeks, probably more on a top 10 or a top 20 than to win, but maybe an each way bet could be interesting to you where you bet him to win and then you bet him on a top, if you can find a top 7 bet or top 5 bet separately or top 10 bet separately, something like that. You can kind of mix and match depending on your book and the numbers that you get. And then kind of free flow group of players at 500 to 1. There's another 12 players that are on the next graphic that are just not going to do anything, but we'll get to them as well. Pontus Nyholm's been playing pretty well, 300 to 1. He's starting to figure out the PGA Tour. Might be kind of interesting here this week. Be a super long shot, but it could be interesting. Jackson Super seems to keep playing his way into things at 300 to 1. I don't love it, but he wasn't bad last week. And then you've got Alejandro Tosti, who is a guy you could have liked last week based on the course profile, not so much this week. And then just guys after that are just guys you just kind of want to avoid like the plague, basically. I would love to see Gordon Sargent figure it out. It seemed like he maybe had it a few weeks ago. Nick Dunlap, he is playing very well in the approach. The problem is he's 3 times as bad to the negative or off the tee. And this is not the course. Last week was the course. This is not the course necessarily. There's less trouble off the tee in Houston. Here you can find trees and gunk and stuff you can almost never hit out of. So sorry to Nick Dunlap. And then here are your other 12 just guys you're just not going to bet. I mean, let's just be honest with one another. You're not going to bet these guys, but there they are. There are the others. So TPC San Antonio, like I mentioned, par 72, a little over, just under 74.50. Really interesting mix of holes. I don't really love Greg Norman architecture. That's what this is. But he does seem to produce a lot of ball striking tests. Makes you make choices off the tee, whether that's on par threes or tee shots. He invites you to kind of take risks with the setup of his holes. He loves a good split fairway par 5. He loves a drivable par 4. He likes par 3s that kind of weird quarters to them or weird greens setups to them. They have one of those here with kind of like 6 at Riviera, where it's got a bunker in the middle, but the green's way bigger and the bunker is way stupider. But they are interesting holes. But if you look at the players who have done well here and the players who have won here, you can notice that they're not long hitters. I mean, you don't have to be a long hitter to do well here. Tom Hoagie, Chris Kirk, S.H. Kim, we mentioned earlier, Brendan Todd, Keith Mitchell. Keith Mitchell hits it. Hideki hits it okay. Andrew Novak hits it. But these guys aren't bombers by and large. They're good approach players above all else. I think if you're hitting the ball well, his short game doesn't matter as much. Corey Connors has won here twice. He's a horrendous putter. It can help you. I mean, you can win that way. I don't think you have to putt brilliantly to win, but you certainly can't putt poorly, but you got to hit at the right places. If you're in these weird putting surface spots, you're probably going to 3-putt. It's a lot like Valspar in that regard. This course fits. So 30% on the putting, 70% tee to green, unique in that regard on the PGA Tour. A lot of emphasis on the approach here, like 35%, which is pretty fair. That's not too far off normal. But then a pretty even spread on 18 and 16 versus off the tee and around the green. So, you're going to miss greens, a lot of elevated greens, a lot of elevated putting surfaces, a lot of bunkering. So you got to be able to play well out of those things. You got to be able to kind of bump it and be comfortable playing on the ground at times, going over the air at times. These are guys who just kind of fit that style. So Keith Mitchell has played well here. Ricky Fowler's got a great short game. Jordan Spieth has played well here, and so has Mac Meisner. So that kind of tracks. Hot hands, so guys who have multiple top 15 finishes in the last 5 PGA Tour events played. Ludwig Oberg's been playing well. He played well in Florida. This may not be a good match for him, but he does have a good finish here. Ricky Castillo won in Puerto Rico. AJ Ewart's been playing pretty okay all year, to be honest with you. Russell Henley, as we talked at the top of the show, has been really very consistent this year. Keith Mitchell has done well in Florida. He tends to. This is a place he likes, though, and I think he can do some damage here. Pontus Nyholm has been playing okay. He was awful at the start of the year, but seems to have found something. Austin Smotherman's been playing much, much better. Again, kind of erratic, but a good player's start. But as we've said, the players doesn't really tell you a whole lot about the year. Jordan Spieth has just been playing well lately, like 3 of the last 4 starts in the top 15, and he plays this course well. He's been bet up for a reason. And Sepp Strack has been playing well, coming back from becoming a father once again. So congrats to him. Past champions here again, you get the list. Brian Harman, not long, but a ball striker, and also a killer putter. Akshay Bhatia, ball striker, not a great putter, but sometimes he putts well. Corey Connors twice. They didn't play in 2020, so that's 19. Corey Connors is the last Monday qualifier to win on the PGA Tour. Was the first to do it in something like 10 years, I guess. Yeah, that sounds about right. But back since Wyndham, about 10 years, about 2010. So he won twice. Obviously not a great putter. JJ Spawn does have a great short game, but he's not the best putter. I mean, you've seen what he putts with. Jordan Spieth has a little bit of everything, but he is a ball striker. And when he won here, it's ball striking, not putting Spieth. It was ball striking Spieth that was doing it. Let's look at the short-term form. So we've got a relatively short list this week in these categories. So we're looking at 3 buckets, last 10 PGA Tour events played, whichever of those that you played. Are you at 1.4 strokes gained in the aggregate per round or better? Are you playing against well enough competition and playing well enough that you're gaining 1.5 quality strokes gained per round? So that's your strokes gained total times the quality of your competition as measured by the official World Golf Ranking. And then separately, strokes gained approach, 0.6 strokes gained on the approach per round in those 10 events that you might have played. That tells me you're hitting the ball well. You may not be putting it well. You may not be driving it well. You can kind of fix driver, manage driver at some places, and putting is certainly the most variable of the strokes that you're going to gain, really, that you do consistently. So maybe you could fix that in a week. But if you look at strokes gained total, Bronson Burgoon, who's going to play here again this week, he hits the crap out of the ball. He just doesn't get a lot of starts, but playing well. But the other guys that makes it, he's on both lists, by the way. But that's just because of limited play last week. Colin Morikawa, Russell Henley is on both. Austin Smotherman's on both. So Yellow Miraju's on one, but not both. He's on the strokes gained overall, and obviously that helped by his performance at the Players' Championship. Ludwig's on both. Tommy Fleetwood is on both. So pretty similar lists between the two. But then you look at the strokes gained on the approach. Austin Smotherman's hitting it well. Daniel Berger's hitting it well. Colin Morikawa, Siwoo Kim, again, not playing as hot as he was at the start of the year, but still strokes gained approach machine. Sepp Straka, Nick Dunlap. I mentioned Nick Dunlap earlier. He's like at minus 1.5 strokes off the tee per round. It's that bad. If he can just figure that out, man, he's going to win again. Whenever that indicator comes, I will bet him the very next week that it seems like he's got it fixed. It's incredible. All right, last couple of things to talk about. Strokes gained tee to green, low variance. So guys who are good, solid strokes gained tee to green players, but they have a low variance. So we want a smoother curve. We want more reliability. These are the more reliable guys. Tommy Fleetwood, Siwoo Kim, Russell Henley, Colin Morikawa, Matt Meisner. So probably a guy worth looking at, even though I didn't give him out as a pick for this week in the betting odds. Doug Gim, Davis Thompson, and Jordan Spieth. Davis Thompson's kind of interesting. I don't love him as a wind player, but I do think Matt Meisner's kind of interesting. I've been waiting for him to win for a long time. And then we do have a fair amount of players with at least 45% of their starts in the top 20 in the last 50 PGA Tour events played. You got Corey Connors down the bottom working up, Ricky Fowler, Bobby Mack, Siwoo Kim, Colin Morikawa, Sepp Straka, and then two guys that basically they are the same percentage, a little over 72.7%, Tommy Fleetwood and Russell Henley. So not any necessarily real big surprises here on your maybe top 20, top 10 plays, but maybe you look at Connors and Fowler, maybe a Siwoo Kim on a top 10 just to kind of have a little rounded out card here this week. All right, so that's it about this week's Valero Texas Open. We've got a couple of other events this week leading into the Masters. No DP World Tour, no Live Golf, but we do have Port Ferry Tour in Florida, Lakewood Ranch, Florida, Lecom Suncoast Classic. We don't have the PGA Tour champions. They don't come back until the Senior PGA after the Masters. And then we have the LPGA playing at Shadow Creek this week for the inaugural Aramco Championship, commingled event with the LET. Some interesting values there. We will do that on a voice-only show tomorrow. You want to join Golf Newsnet for $40 a year, $70 for 2 years, and $100 for 3 years. You can get that at golfnewsnet.com. Get access to all of our research and tools. Email me anytime that you want as a member. Happy to answer your questions about DFS, about betting, about fantasy, one and done, you name it. Full access to me. Happy to have you as a member at golfnewsnet.com. Follow me on social media at Ryan Ballingy or Ryan Ballingy Golf. You can also follow Golf Newsnet for the latest access to our stories, news conferences, all the latest information at Golf Newsnet on the platform of your choice. And you can subscribe to our YouTube channels. Golf Newsnet Radio is just the audio only for all of our shows. And then Golf Newsnet, you can get all of our videos there as well, including video versions of this show, which are also available at thegolfnewsnet.com for free. Back tomorrow with another show. Thanks so much for spending some time with me. Cannot wait for the Masters next week. So go light on the bankroll here. We do have some interesting values on the board, but next week is the best week of the year. It's also one of the easiest weeks of the year to bet in terms of trying to go find winners, trying to identify a pool of players and narrow it down. So we're going to be pretty aggressive next week. But enjoy this week. Talk to you in the next show. We'll see you next time right here on The Press.